Welcome back to FM Story and the beginning of a new series where we take clubs that have been relegated in real life, try and save them in Football Manager, and try and build a legacy with them. This first rebuild is going to be with Wolverhampton Wanderers, a club with Premier League infrastructure, a fiercely loyal fan base, and a squad that always feels one bad window away from disaster. After years of financial juggling, star player sales, and tactical identity crises, Wolves have become the definition of a team stuck in survival mode. And as we know, in real life this season, they weren't even in survival mode. Relegated well before the end of the season. The aim for this 5-season rebuild, obviously, first up, season 1, stay in the Premier League. Then look to push on, consolidate the position, and challenge for European spots. So without further ado, let's have a look at the state of Wolves when we take them over at the beginning of season 1. This is the squad that we take over in charge of Wolves with. And the slight concern is that if a 33-year-old Matt Doherty is one of the club's better players, then I think we're going to be struggling. There are a few decent potential young players. Matthias Mane, who obviously has done a great job in his first season in the Premier League in real life, I think is going to be someone that we look to build around going forward. Someone that we want to give first team football to so that they can develop. We do have money available, more so in the transfer budget than the wage budget, because 100,000 a week doesn't go very far in the Premier League. But 91 million available means that we should be able to bring some players in. Let's jump forward to the end of the summer transfer window and see what we've been able to do ahead of season 1. So we've made it to the end of the summer transfer window at the beginning of season 1. And as you can see, things that have gone relatively well so far from the league. We've played 3, we've picked up 5 points, which obviously means that we're unbeaten to start the season. So we have done quite a bit of business. We've spent the best part of 50 million, but we have spread it around a bit. The first player to come in is Lucas Provod, initially to play wide left, but he can play behind the front man if we end up playing that as well. Decent player that we managed to get in for not too much. He hasn't started the Premier League season brilliantly, but in the AFL Cup, he's done pretty well in our only game in that competition so far. We looked a bit weak defensively, so we've gone in and signed Danilo Doki from Union Berlin. He's hit the ground running and is just a real quality defender. I mean, great in the air, strong, and hopefully can do a job for us over the course of the rebuild. Up front is a bit of a struggle as well. So we've gone to Nottingham Forest and picked up Taiwo Awoniyi. Gives us a physical presence up front and someone who can put the ball in the back of the net, which he's done so far this season. I mean, we've played 4 games in all competitions. He's scored 4 goals. We can't ask for much more than that. And then the final player we brought in on deadline day was Patrick Wimmer. And he can basically play anywhere in the midfield or behind the front man. Great mentals. Reasonably quick as well. So hopefully he can be of use as the season goes on, creating chances for Awoniyi to put the ball in the back of the net. We are playing with a back 3. We have locked in a couple of players in the formation going forward. So we've locked in Rodrigo Gomez as a right wing back. I think he can do a job there and he can be good. We had locked in Mane on the right, but that might change with us having now picked up Wimmer. And as we said, we started the season relatively well. We did pretty well in pre-season apart from a heavy defeat in the last friendly against Marseille. But opening day of the season, a 1-1 draw against Man City, which we'll take. I mean, we really should have done better, but Angel Gomez missed a penalty. And then a 1-1 draw against Bournemouth, which was a bit of a kick in the teeth, obviously with them scoring a late equaliser. We then hammered Fleetwood 4-1 in the first round of the League Cup. And then the most recent league game, a pretty comfortable victory over Everton. So hopefully we can kick on and carry on this decent start to the season and finish comfortably above the relegation zone. But let's have a look and see what happens in season 1. And we've got to the end of season 1, and I think we might have overshot things in this first season. We were aiming for finishing comfortably in the Premier League. Mid-table would have done, but it looks as though we've qualified for the Europa League. I mean, we were well safe of relegation, but how have we managed to finish 6th? That is, with that squad, I don't know that was something I was expecting. And I can see we've gone a long way in the Carabao Cup as well. But obviously, we'd beaten Fleetwood in the first round of the Carabao Cup. We then knocked Leicester out on penalties. We then hammered Arsenal. We beat Derby in the quarter-final. We drew the first leg of Carabao Cup semi-final. Despite, and that was some performance from David Muller-Wolf. Scores in the 6th minute to put us 1-0 up. It's sent off in the 7th minute. But we came away with a 2-2 draw in that first leg. We've then won the home leg 3-1, which obviously gets us into the final. We lost the final after extra time against Crystal Palace. We could easily have had a trophy in season 1. FA Cup, we actually beat Palace in the 3rd round, and then Brighton knocked us out on penalties in the 4th round. But largely, I mean, we've had a couple of big defeats I can see in the league. I mean, 5-2 against Arsenal, 5-4 cracker of a game against Man United. We got hammered 7-2 at home against Arsenal. I mean, if not for March and April, we could have been challenging for the Champions League places. Because we've ended the season flying. Going into season 2, we might have a few problems. We are already spending over the wage budget, and there's only 28 million available to spend. So if we're going to spend anything to improve the squad for season 2, we're going to have to sell, I think, to be able to improve too much. And the summer transfer business might be a bit tricky. So again, we're at the end of the summer transfer window at the start of season 2, and we've started the season even better than we started season 1. We've got 10 points from 4 games, which means we've won 3 of them and drawn 1, which is an astonishing start. So in order to do some transfer business, we did sell a couple of players. We managed to get in sort of 7.25 million, but what we then did was run through all the clauses that we could sell to try and boost the coffers greatly. The Krejci deal was already a done deal as part of the loan deal last season. We've picked up Javier Slager at the end of his contract with Leipzig to come in and just give us a bit more depth and a bit more quality in that midfield, particularly from a defensive point of view. And I mean, look at those mentals. We probably needed an improvement in goal, so we've brought in Keisuke Osako on a free transfer. Looks a quality player. Immediately with his star ratings comes in as our best goalkeeper, so he's probably going to be the number 1, and he has started the season pretty well. I think we've kept 3 clean sheets in our opening 4 Premier League games. And then we have changed the formation. We've gone from the back 3 to a back 4. We didn't really have a decent right back. So we've gone and signed Luttrell Geertruida from Leipzig. Obviously in season 1 in real life, well, in season 1 and in real life was on loan at Sunderland. He's come in. He can do a job anywhere across the back 4 as well. So hopefully he can, I mean, he is an improvement on what we had at right back, and hopefully he can be a big part for us this season. And obviously we have, as we said, started the season pretty well. A 1-0 win at home against Aston Villa on the opening day of the season. A 1-0 victory away at Leeds. We've then hammered Man United at home 4-1. A big performance in the second half there. A 0-0 draw against Forest. And then we've comfortably made it into the 4th round of the League Cup with a dominant victory over Blackburn. We are in the Europa League this season, which is a bit of a concern in terms of the depth of the squad. We've got games against Copenhagen, against Borussia Mönchengladbach, Rayo Vallecano, Atletico, Servette, Bran, Slavia Prague, and Atalanta. Could have been a lot easier, the run of games we've got. I think we're probably not going to finish in the top 8 based on the quality of the teams we're playing. So I think we're probably going to have to aim for, as long as we make it into the knockout stages, that's what the aim is for the season. But let's go ahead and see what happens in the rest of season 2. And so, as you can see, we've obviously tailed off a bit in season 2. We've actually ended up with a pretty similar points tally to what we did in season 1, but it has dropped us down the table considerably. And obviously, given the start we had, we've not had the best of runs in the league. And we did continue that good run on through September. And then October wasn't great, going out of the Carabao Cup on penalties against Reading. November wasn't exactly great. And December was okay. Some big victories there against West Brom, Norwich and Ipswich, and ended up doing the double over Man United. But a disappointing defeat away to Bran. January was pretty good. February was abysmal. March was okay. April again. I mean, we've had some really bad spells in the season. So obviously, Premier League, we finished 10th. Comfortably safe. And obviously, the aim for this stage of the rebuild was to be comfortable in the Premier League. I think having reached Europe in season 1 was a bit of an overachievement and maybe made us think we could challenge even higher. Europa League, we actually did really well in the league phase. We only lost that one game against Bran. We ended up finishing 3rd, comfortably in the top 8, so going straight into the last 16. And we did the job. A couple of 1-0 victories over Club Brugge to see us into the quarter-final, where we were drawn against Tottenham, and after a 0-0 in the first leg, we lost the second leg 3-2 and went out. And you have to say, we probably got just about as bad a draw as we could have got in that quarter-final. I think if we'd had any of the other teams that had come through, like RZ, Rangers, Copenhagen, I think we would have comfortably been into the semi-final. But facing off against a fellow Premier League side, it was a bit of a struggle. And looking at it, it did actually go to extra time. It was 1-1 at the end of extra time. They scored 2 goals fairly early in extra time. We got a goal back at the end of extra time, but couldn't do the job, basically. It was too little too late, and that was the end of the competition for us. But looking at that, that team makes me realise we missed some of the transfers, because there was a couple of transfers done before the season ticked over. So the first one was Kasper Abanski was brought in, can play in midfield behind the front man or at a push in the defensive midfield role. Young, hopefully he can develop. And then with us having switched to the 4-4-2, we'd brought in Geertruida for the right back role. We needed someone for the left back role, so we'd brought in Reynaldo, who was also previously at Sunderland. Great mentals, getting on a bit, but he did an okay job for us. And then looking ahead to season 3, we've got a bit more money in the budgets to spend. So hopefully we can kick on from 10th and push back towards those European spots. Season 3, and by far and away our worst start to the season. We've picked up 2 points from 4 games, and we have since tweaked the formation as well. We didn't start well. We've tweaked it since then. We've gone to a 4-4-2 in possession, 4-2-3-1 out of possession. So recruitment-wise, we started by bringing in a couple of players. Firstly, Rucknott and Cuffy to give us more down the right and can play anywhere down that right-hand side. He had gone to Man City, wasn't getting played. They wanted to sell him. Great physical stats in terms of his speed and his agility. And hopefully he can do a job for us going forward. We also were struggling a bit in front of goal last season, so we brought in Randall Cole and Moani. It was a really cheap deal because he was transfer listed, and hopefully he can do a job up front. I mean, he's already got 3 goals in 5 games for us so far, so hopefully he can continue on like that. And then the only other player we brought in was Luke Shaw on a free transfer at the end of his contract, just to give us a bit more depth and experience at left back and centre half. He has actually started the season well. He's got an average rating of 7.17 from 6 games, despite how badly we've obviously done in the league. And looking at how we've started the season, it's not great. We've drawn 2-2 with Sunderland on the opening day of the season, and followed that up with another 2-2 draw against Fulham. We've then lost 4-3 to Man United, conceding the goal late on to lose that one. We managed to comfortably beat Sheffield United, well, relatively comfortably. I mean, we scored at the end of the first half and then scored 2 goals in injury time at the end of the game to secure that. We've then lost 2-1 at home against Liverpool, and then we've been knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Tottenham. All of that leaves us 17th, and the only reason we're 17th is because Nottingham Forest are on minus points. So tell us what they've had the points deducted from, because they've actually won 2 games. So they've picked up, well, they've won 2 games, they've drawn 1, so they've picked up 7 points. So they've had 9 points deducted. There we go. They've got into administration, and that's why they're on minus points. That, given the way we started the season, might save us. Obviously not the start to the season that we wanted on the pitch. The objective, as you can see there, is now to finish mid-table, which is what we wanted at this stage of the rebuild, and then we wanted to push on. So let's have a look and see if we manage to avoid relegation in season 3. And in the end, as you can see, we've comfortably avoided relegation, and we have managed to push ourselves up the table. We finished 8th. We've dropped a couple of points from where we were in the first couple of seasons, but that's an improvement on league placing from last season. We did switch back to the back 3 that had done us well previously, and that seems to have coincided with us flying up the table. And it did take a while for it to kick in, because obviously we'd seen that we'd been knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Tottenham. We picked up some decent wins towards the end of September, but then October, November, December weren't great. January wasn't brilliant, although we did have a 6-1 win in the FA Cup third round. We won on penalties in the 4th round of the FA Cup, amongst some decent results in the league. We went out of the FA Cup to Brighton and then lost almost immediately to them in the league as well. Yeah, a bit of a mix of a season. We didn't manage to put any really good runs together, and obviously we've managed to finish just outside the European spots there in 8th. We finished above Newcastle, Villa. Forest obviously dragged themselves out of the relegation spots. Brighton have gone down, bottom of the table. Brentford have gone down. Wow, that is a bit of a shock. Looking ahead to season 4, we've got some money to spend, we've got some wages, so it's now just about trying to improve the squad, to push on and try and make it into those European spots. So, beginning of season 4, and we're mid-table after 3 games. We've won 3 points from those opening 3 games. So, transfer-wise, we started right at the end of last season. We've gone and signed Karim Alibegovic, real quality young German, can play wide and left, push, can play anywhere across that front, the 3 behind the front man. Just real quality on the ball, technique, flair, and hopefully he can be a big signing for us. He's got 9 caps for Germany at the age of 20, so hopefully he can kick on for us. We then had already done a deal to pick up Nico Paz at the end of his Como contract. I mean, what a player. Just look at those technical attributes, the determination, the vision. and hopefully he can be a big player for us, but he hasn't exactly set the world alight so far. We then were struggling a bit for homegrown players. So we've picked up John Stones on a free transfer. The physicals, I mean, they're gone, but hopefully he can do a job if we need him. He's actually started the season not too bad. And then the final signing, we actually only had one goalkeeper, which was Keisuke Osuko. So we've brought in Andre Lunin from Real Madrid to provide him with competition. He started the season reasonably well. Yeah, hopefully we've got a squad that we can hopefully push on from where we finished last season. As I said, we've had a bit of a mixed start. We've won one of the 3 league games, which is the opening day of the season, where we hammered Norwich. We then lost to Chelsea, but we did play for an hour with 10 men. Comfortable victory in the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup. We've then lost 1-0 away at Burnley, which is a bit of a disappointment. And then we've beaten Aston Villa in the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup. We've gone back to trying the 4-2-3-1. I think that's probably where we're going to get the best out of Nico Paz. And for the 2nd successive season, we've got a club on minus points in the Premier League. So I'm assuming that it is for the same. Not that I don't think tells me anywhere on there. Look at the landmarks. Yeah, they've gone into administration as well. But we've had an okay start to the season. Even the games we've lost, we haven't been hammered in any of them. And let's have a look and see if we can push our way up the table as season 4 goes on. And it's basically been another season of mid-table. We're in 9th, comfortably clear of the relegation slots again. So that's 4 seasons where we've not come close to getting relegated. Obviously, season 1, we managed to push ourselves into the European spots. Ideally, season 5, we would push ourselves back up there again. I mean, after we left off, we went on a pretty decent run in the league. 7 wins out of 8 before we then got smashed by Man City. And then that started a bit of a downward turn. January wasn't too bad. We made it through the 3rd round, the 4th round, and the 5th round of the Cup, and then got smashed in the quarter-final at Arsenal. But that was in the midst of probably the worst run of the season. I mean, what was that? So, hammered by Man City in the league. We lost 7 league games in a row around that Arsenal defeat in the FA Cup. They then hammered us in the league as well. We definitely didn't end the season well. From March onwards, we were pretty hopeless. And yet, the only 2 wins we had in the league from March onwards were away at Man United and at home to Liverpool. It really doesn't make an awful lot of sense there. But at least we finished mid-table. We've got something to build on for season 5. And again, we've got around that 50 to 60 million in the transfer budget. We've got pretty high amount of wage budget to spend there as well. So hopefully we can improve the squad. Looking at the position issues there on the squad plan, we've got a few issues: right back, left back, and centre forward. Sorry. So we may have to prioritise those positions, or tweak the formation to kind of hide that. Season 5, and again, not the best start. 3 points from 3 games. Things haven't started well. Transfer-wise, we've brought in 5 players. We have sold Kasper Urbanski because he hadn't really kicked on, so he's gone out for 8.5 million. And then transfers in. So Jordan Pickford became available and was a bit of an upgrade on what we did have in goal. We then needed, obviously, a left back, because that was one of the areas of the squad that was a concern when we looked at the squad planner at the end of last season. So Mark Cucurella has come in from Chelsea. better than what we had and can hopefully do a job. We've brought in Janis Konstantelias. He can do a job in the number 10 role or off the left. Really, he's coming to just add a bit more depth to the squad. Another free transfer was Mauro Arambari, just to give us more depth and quality in the midfield. And again, like with some of the other players we've signed for that area of the pitch, those mentals, good, solid player who can do a job for us. And then the final signing to give us some quality, can play centre-half, can play right-back. Josip Stanisic has come in from Barcelona just to improve us at the back as well. We are going to go back to the three at the back because that is where we've had our biggest success in this rebuild. And things didn't exactly start well. We lost 4-1 on the opening day of the season against Man United. We did then get a pretty comfortable victory over Tottenham and then a relatively comfortable victory in the Carabao Cup with Kolo Muani getting all 4 of them. And then we've lost the most recent game 2-1 in the league against Aston Villa. So there's stuff to work on. Hopefully having that 3 at the back will prove to be as successful as it has in the previous seasons when we switched to it. We do have players that can, luckily, the players we've signed can kind of fit into the wing-back roles. So hopefully we can do a job there. And let's have a look and see how the 5th and final season played out. And somehow we have really pushed on at the end of season 5. We've ended up finishing 3rd on 71 points, qualified ourselves for the Champions League, and have really, really actually surprised me in that final season. We were a bit hit and miss in that first half of the season, and we'd go from losing against Liverpool to winning, to losing, to winning. There wasn't really any great run where we put back-to-back victories together, but January was a pretty wild month. We won 6-1 against Man United in the league. We lost to Chelsea. We won 6-1 in the FA Cup. But certainly in the second half of the season looks like it was much better, apart from March. Losing in the 5th round of the FA Cup to Chelsea and then losing to Stoke kind of put the ceiling on where we finished the season. But we did have that great run towards the end of the season. We won 7 out of the last 8, drew the other one, and it was enough to see us finish there in 3rd in the league table. And there we go, the end of the 5 seasons with Wolves. And I think we've actually achieved what we set out to do. The aim was not to get relegated in real life in season 1. I did think qualifying for Europe at the end of season 1 was maybe going to be the highlight, and we were maybe just going to be mid-table mediocrity from then on. But we stabilised them in the mid-table, pushed on in that final season, and managed to finish 3rd and get Champions League football. Join us next time for another rebuild, where we save a team that have been relegated in real life and look to build on that to push them up the table and challenge for European places and trophies. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.